Do you remember the race for space back in 2021?
Hmm.
It felt like every single person you knew in London was packing up, buying a golden retriever, and fleeing to the Cotswolds or the coast.
Oh, yeah. It really was the great exodus. Everyone wanted that garden office and the fresh air.
Right, exactly. But if you're still operating on that mental model that everyone is leaving the city, you are looking at a completely outdated map. We've got this fascinating deep dive today based on new reporting from The Guardian, pulling data from Hamptons and Countrywide. And it shows that trend hasn't just slowed down, it has literally hit a brick wall.
Yeah, hit it hard. The numbers are striking.
So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack exactly why Londoners are suddenly staying put. And I mean, my first instinct was just, it's the boss. The return to office mandates. You can't live in Cornwall if you have to be at your desk in Canary Wharf on a Tuesday morning.
Which is a really fair assumption to make. The commute definitely matters. But while that plays a role, the data we're looking at suggests the real story is overwhelmingly financial. It's something economists are now calling the equity trap.
The equity trap. Okay, before we actually get into the trap itself, give us a sense of the scale of this braking maneuver. How fast did it stop?
It is dramatic. So for the first 7 months of the year, Londoners made up only 5.3% of house purchases outside the capital.
Wow, only 5.3.
Yeah, that is the lowest share since 2013. And in raw volume, compared to the peak in 2021, transaction numbers have basically halved. We are talking going from over 63,000 to just over 31,000.
Halved. That is massive. Okay, so let's go back to this equity trap, because usually the London housing market is like a giant piggy bank, right? You sell a small flat in Zone 2, and that huge pile of cash just buys you a mansion out in the Shires.
Yeah.
Why has that stopped working?
Well, it stopped working because the price gap between the two has closed significantly. And I don't think most people realize just how much. If you look over the last 5 years, property prices outside of London shot up by 26%.
26 fun, okay.
But inside London, they only grew by about 8%.
I see. So the country got really expensive and the city basically stagnated.
Exactly. Your London flat didn't earn enough equity to keep up with the housing inflation in the countryside. The buying power of a Londoner moving out today is vastly weaker than it was, say, back in 2016.
There was a phrase in the research that really stuck with me here. The shrinkflation of moving.
Yes, it's such a perfect description. Because in 2016, moving out meant gaining space. Today, if you move out of London with that exact same budget, you can only afford a home that is 32% smaller than what you could have bought back then.
That is a wild stat. 32% smaller.
Yeah, in practical terms, that is a loss of about 553 square feet.
Which is what, like 2 whole bedrooms?
Exactly. 2 double bedrooms just vanished from your purchasing power. So the main incentive to leave getting that massive house has completely evaporated.
Well, that definitely explains the shift in where people are going then.
Yeah.
I was looking at the destination lists and the data, and a few years ago, it was all these lifestyle spots. Places like Sevenoaks or Broxbourne, pretty leafy and expensive.
Right. And now the top choices are places like Dartford Epping Forest and Thurrock.
Which feels very pragmatic.
It is entirely budget-driven now. It's no longer about chasing some idyllic rural dream. It's about simple affordability. If you want to leave, you have to compromise heavily.
And the coast too, right? The dream of a home by the sea is fading fast. I saw it take 73 days to sell a coastal home now, up from 52.
Yeah, the London money just isn't flowing to the seaside anymore. Which brings us to a massive behavioral shift. According to Rightmove, 58% of Londoners looking to move are now actually looking to stay within the capital rather than leave.
Which makes total sense, doesn't it?
Huh.
If the math doesn't work to move out and you lose the extra bedrooms and you still have a hellish commute, you might as well just stay where the action is.
Exactly. It changes the whole dynamic of the housing market.
Right.
The release valve has essentially been shut off.
It really has. We went from escape to the country to trapped in the city in less than 4 years.
The perfect storm of return to office and a closed price gap.
Which brings me to the big question I want to leave you with today. If the mass exodus is well and truly over, and Londoners are trapped by their equity, what does that do to the city socially? Are we looking at a renaissance of city living because people are recommitting to the capital? Or are we just going to see frustration boiling over inside the M25 because people literally can't afford to leave?
It is absolutely a pressure cooker situation. We will have to see if the lid stays on over the next few years.
A pressure cooker indeed. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Let us know what you think about this shift, and we will catch you next time.